Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 142. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Ratchet Clank Size Matters, TMNT Splintered Fate, Shadow X Shadow Generations, MCU Trailers, Star Wars The Acolyte, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities.
I'll go first. I have finished Dawntrail, so that was like sort of the big thing I did last week because I was about halfway done in the last podcast. And I really like it. I mean, this expansion has been getting a lot of like mixed reception just because like the main story, unlike other MMOs, like the main story is kind of like a big selling point for 14 because, Shadowbringers and Endwalker had really good main scenarios and stuff. So that's kind of a big deal. And this expansion does feel like a big step back. I still enjoyed it though. Like it was pretty predictable on where they were going to go for some stuff, but I feel like the second half of the story was really good, and they kind of set up what they're going to do for the next few years of 14, which is really neat. I was kind of worried it wouldn't set up like anything, and it would just be like, okay, we're just doing other random stuff in the next expansion, but it seems like they do want to set up like another big storyline, so that's pretty exciting. Again, I don't hate the main story as much as other people have. The first half I know is really like, oh, it's boring and like you don't do a lot and it focused too much on one character, but I thought it was fine. Again, it's not like the best thing ever, but I still enjoyed my time with it. The story still had a lot of heart, good character moments, all that good stuff that I come to expect from this game. So I think they did a good job. I do think the second half they could have focused a bit more on some other characters that needed the screen time more, because they still were focusing on that character that got way too much screen time in the first half. I'm like, okay, they could like share the load a bit on that, because some characters just needed more development, but whatever. I still enjoyed the main story. I thought it was good without going too deep into it. And I think some people are like kind of just mad that they weren't the main character for once. And I mean, like, that's fine. I don't really care. I mean, there's criticisms to be had. Like, I do think the story structure of 14 should probably change at this point. It's just been like the same, like, you just talk to people, and like I said, it's basically just a visual novel for like the first 40 hours. Like, I feel they could incorporate more story missions and more actual gameplay into it, but it was still good. I still enjoy my time with it, and I've been doing a bit of the post-game stuff. I think the new dungeons and trials have been a lot of fun. There's been some more controversy with some people thinking the normal mode stuff is too hard or whatever, and I don't know. I don't really agree with that. Like, they're definitely more difficult than what we got in the past for like normal stuff, but I think that's good. I think the dungeon design and trials have been like a ton of fun. Like, a lot more unique mechanics going on that makes me really pay attention to what the fuck is happening. Like, we were like wiping in dungeons, which like never happens, and I thought it was a really fun time. So I hope they continue that sort of like difficulty curve throughout the rest of the expansion. But I guess we'll see, because some people are complaining that it's too hard now. So whatever. But overall, I've been really enjoying Dawntrail. The new classes have been really fun. I've been really loving Pictomancer. That's a very fun job. I've been really liking that. But yeah, besides that, I'm just going to keep playing it on the side. I won't mention it as much because, I kind of did like the main thing I really wanted to talk about. But I think overall Dawntrail has been good. I think it's been getting 7 and 8, and I think that's about where I would put it as well. I think Shadowbringers and Endwalker is just so hard to top that I don't even feel like they wanted to top it with this expansion. So I think they did good for what they had. So as long as the content is good throughout the rest of the next 2 years for this expansion's life cycle, I'm totally okay with that. So yeah, I've been really enjoying Dawntrail. Next is Ratchet Clank Size Matters on PS5. So this, I was always asking for this to be on the PS Premium thing, because I'm like, I think they added the PSP stuff for like, 2 years already? Like, it's been a while since they started doing this whole PSP, like, the classic game collection. And I feel for the longest time, the PSP was just getting some like games no one gave a shit about. Like, it wasn't until recently to start actually playing games people wanted. Like, even not just with the PSP, but, like Sly, the Daxter. They also had Jack and Daxter Lost Frontier. They also had that. Yeah. For better for worse for that game. And now Size Matters. And I think that's really cool because, I think Size Matters is a pretty important PSP game because, it was one of like the system sellers for the time. And, this game's always hard to talk about because I think back then people liked it a lot more than people do now. Even as a kid, I really enjoyed Size Matters. Same thing with Secret Agent Clank, because I'm like, oh, it's Ratchet Clank on the go. That's amazing. Yeah. Like, I still remember just being at my cousin's house and just being able to play Ratchet and Clank like just whenever I want, and that was amazing, right? And I remember playing a lot of Size Matters. Like, I remember a lot of the secrets still, like when going through this again. I remember a lot of secret armor combinations and all that. I think there are stuff to like about Size Matters, and I let me just put this right now. I do like this game. It still is like the bottom 4 Ratchet games. Like obviously, like I'm not gonna defend it that much because there's a lot of fucking issues with this game. For me, the biggest issue is more just like the pacing of the game. Like I feel like you do a lot of things that aren't Ratchet centric. Like you do a lot of like weird, like you do some giant Clank stuff, some normal Clank stuff, some like arena stuff that's not like actual battle arena stuff. Is like more Clank shit that's like really bad mini games. The hoverboarding, some of the worst hoverboarding in the series. It's very bad. I remember that as a kid too. Like rewinding helps a lot with that, but the hoverboarding is awful. But when you actually are playing as Ratchet, it's pretty fun. Like, I think the controls take some time to get used to. And my biggest tip, if you are going to play this game, is just to pause the game right when you launch it, go to options, and make sure your strafe controls on analog stick. So whenever Ratchet has a gun, he always strafes, and it makes it a lot better. But then that gets into the actual core issues with the game balance itself, being that a lot of the weapons are straight garbage doo-doo and they just do like no fucking damage. Basically, like every gun is almost a trap until like the last 2 planets. Like the only weapons that are worth using are your dual guns. If you get the double barrel mod, like you could buy that and it gets okay. But besides that, it's mostly just the rocket launcher, the shield, which is really good, and the laser tracer, and that's it. Those are like the only guns that are actually good in this game. Every other gun is like awful and doesn't do like any damage. Like the shotgun has to be the worst shotgun in any Ratchet game. It does no damage, and it's just that you feel like you're doing nothing with that fucking thing. And some other guns just don't even make sense. And why is there a sniper rifle in this game when like enemies don't even go that far? It makes like no sense. But besides that, I do think some of the levels are pretty creative for what they are. Like there's a lot of like shrinking stuff, like the Technomite cities, like you're climbing over fucking leaves and shit. Like that's pretty neat. The Dreamtime level is pretty cool because it's just like weird trippy shit. The farming level, you haven't done that one yet, but the one with Luna, when you fight Luna, like that's like pretty cool. It's like that's a pretty unique level for Ratchet. So there are some cool things. Like I like the Spratomatic. That's kind of cool. Again, there's cool ideas in there. I think the level design is pretty good for a PSP game. Like, the levels aren't too long because like why would they be? But I think the levels are pretty creative when they actually do stuff with it. It is pretty funny how the shrink ray has shrinking is such a big thing in this game. It's only used as like basically a hacking mini game. It's a hacking mini game. You go through like a grind rail and you do some stuff and then you open a door. So yeah, like this game does have a lot of issues with all of that. But for a PSP game at the time, it does some cool stuff. Like, it looks good for a PSP game in terms of emulation too. So I actually did this game. Like this isn't the first time I've been playing this game since I was a kid. Like I did play this game around 3 years ago on an emulator before Rift Apart came out because I wanted to play all the Ratchet games. So I played it on an emulator, and I actually do think this emulator is better than the one I used because when I was playing the giant Clank levels, it basically looked like shit because particles were everywhere. This emulator looks a lot better in terms of like just like dealing with particle effects. So you still get some texture flickering or whatever. And obviously you're going to notice some things don't look as good when it's blown up because, it's a fucking PSP game. Yeah. I'm not going to give a shit because that's dumb. I'm not going to do that. So I think the emulator they used was pretty good for this game. Like I didn't really have any hiccups with it. It's going to look a little ugly, but that's just, it's a PSP game. So just like, that's just how it is. But yeah, overall, I still have a good time with Size Matters. I think it did some cool things. Like I said, the level design. I think the armor system is pretty cool, even if it doesn't really amount to much because you're never going to use your fucking wrench anyway, and that's all it affects. But it's still a pretty cool idea, and I kind of wish they brought that back in some other game. I mean, they kind of did with Rift Apart, but that's more like cosmetic stuff. You don't really get like set bonuses really. Like you do, but it's like so like it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I definitely think they wanted to do a lot for this Ratchet game. Like they just wanted a whole sampler of a PS2 Ratchet game on the go, and they did it. But I felt like they kind of they kind of hampered like what they should just made the core game better. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I still enjoy the game, but I'm not like I'm not gonna pretend it's not like a bottom tier Ratchet game still, but I still enjoy it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 2 hours in. I got up to after Ratchet gets free and all the weird stuff. So first thing off the bat, Ratchet's a fucking asshole. That was like
Ratchet's a dick. Yeah,
that was the first thing I noticed as soon as I started up the game. I was like, all right, he just ruined Clank's like sand thing, and then he's acting like all like fucking cocky and shit. I'm like, okay, this is like Ratchet 1 Ratchet for some goddamn reason that they went back to that version of the character.
Well, there's some interesting stuff with that. High Impact Games is actually developed, like they were made from a lot of former Insomniacs that worked on Ratchet 1. So their idea of a better Ratchet game is kind of going back to how Ratchet was in Ratchet 1. So that's why he kind of acts like, how he does in that game. And even the game itself kind of feels like this weird missing link of like 1 and 2, like 1 and Going Commando.
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of Ratchet 1 elements to it, but also some, later game stuff in there. But it doesn't feel as good as either of them. So it feels like this weird middle ground of like, oh, this is what would happen if like Ratchet 1 got a sequel that wasn't Going Commando. And it's just so odd playing it because it really feels like this weird missing link, But it came out in 2007, so it's, way after like Ratchet 1 came out. So yeah.
Definitely a weird game because, you got me into the Ratchet and Clank series. And I remember when I was a kid, I played it. I think it was on some random car ride, and I was trying to beat like the final boss, and I was just like so frustrated, so mad because the final bosses in all of the high impact Ratchet games are just fucking hard. Like they are just so difficult, and it's because of this game's balancing, like you said, like. When you told me to not buy anything until like the later weapons, I was like, okay, yeah, like I remember that because I would just buy like these random ass weapons that would be brand new in the shop and they would do no damage and they would be useless and they would just be not worth buying. So I have like 100k bolts just because I did all of the hoverboarding challenges because I was just like, screw it, whatever.
Yeah, I did too.
Terrible. I'm so happy for the rewind feature because that is such a big thing about these PlayStation Classic emulations is the fact that you can rewind, and it has kind of messed up the way I play games when it's not on the PS5 because I'm like, oh wait, I can't rewind if I like mess up. That happened a lot within TMNT Splintered Fate. I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. I was like, oh wait, but I can't rewind, and it's a roguelike. Why would I want to rewind anyways? But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm only 2 hours in. I'm enjoying it so far, but definitely this is like the worst Ratchet and Clank game in terms of like the main, or I guess like the entire series because this is still like a spin-off game.
Yeah.
All things considered. So, but it's only $10. If you've never played it before and you want to try it out because this is the PSP version. It's not the PS2 version, even though I believe the PS2 version, you can control the camera with the right analog stick. It is still weird controlling the camera with like the shoulder buttons because in Daxter, I could use the right analog stick, but because they use the shoulder button for like other things like doing the high jump and also throwing your wrench, you have to hold those down, and I'm like, oh, so I can't just like remap the controls to just have it be on.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
For me, I could control my camera with my right analog stick. I didn't change anything either. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm because I was definitely like trying to use it, and I'm like, I have to use the shoulder button still. I don't know.
That's how you do it originally. But yeah, on this one, I was able to control it with the right analog stick. So, and it felt fine. Like that's why like the controls felt fine to me. So.
Maybe my shit's bugged. Anyways, but yeah, the hoverboarding shit sucked. All of the mini games that you do in between the Ratchet like dream sequence all sucked too. I was just like, all right, like this flying Clank sequence, it's cool, but it's like lasting a while, and then like
it lasts too long. Yeah.
That final part of it, I actually almost died because I was like, oh shit, I like used all my rockets on like these like bullshit nothing enemies. Like I'm fucked. But yeah, I mean, it definitely feels a weird Ratchet game where there are some good elements to it, like the level design. Like you said, it is definitely very, very good. I definitely had a pretty fun time exploring the first level where you do like the sort of like watering stuff or whatever, like
Spratomatic,
So yeah, I mean, I definitely have, I guess like 2-3 more hours left to go on that one, but so far so good.
Yeah, it took me like 5 hours to beat, but I basically did like everything in my first playthrough. I want to get the plat, and that takes a while because the Rhino's like 10 million bolts in this fucking game. So that's fun, but I'm going to do it because I platted every other Ratchet game, so why not? So I'm going through a second playthrough right now. I might need to go through multiple playthroughs to get the fucking Rhino, but and I don't think I've ever gotten all the skill points in this game. I have almost, I think I have more than half of them at this point, because I could go into their Not a Soniac Museum, the high impact treehouse, because I don't think I've ever done that as a kid. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, overall, Size Matters. I know it gets a pretty bad rap nowadays, and it probably does deserve it. I mean, it does deserve it, but I still think it's a good time. If you're a Ratchet fan, you probably will have some enjoyment, because at the end of the day, it's still a Ratchet game. It still has that fun, addicting gameplay that, we all know and love. So, and it's just cool to just play a Ratchet game natively to the PS5 that's not riff apart or the 2004 game, 2004 game, a 2016 game. What the fuck am I saying? The 2016 Ratchet game. Like both of those games are obviously great, but it's nice to play something a little different. So hopefully do the rest for the other Ratchet games, and we get some more Sly stuff as well. But and Secret Agent Clank, maybe that's gonna be fun. Maybe. So we'll see. If you tell me to beat Clunk in challenge mode, I've never done that because it's like actually like insane. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, last bit of things I've been playing, just really quick. I played this right before the podcast, the Concord open beta. I kind of just wanted to talk about it because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that was happening today. So I downloaded it on PC and I played like 30 minutes of it, and like it's fine. So like this is, this game has been getting basically like negative press, whereas like no one really gives a shit about it. And I also see why. I mean, it's just not really remarkable in like any way at all. Like it's fun, like it plays well, it looks nice, but everything about it just doesn't stand out at all. Like obviously it's a hero shooter, and we have a lot of those now, and obviously Overwatch is always going to be the number one for that. No matter how you feel about that game, Overwatch is always going to be like the number one hero shooter just because it's Overwatch, right? So this game has kind of similar gameplay to that, but it also has really similar gameplay to like almost every other FPS around. So the game has like team deathmatch, it has kill confirm, it has point capture, which is pretty standard for like something like Overwatch. But then it also has like Valorant / CS:GO mode, like CS:GO modes. Like they have the bomb planting thing with 1 life and some other shit. I'm like, what the fuck? So this game is like trying to cater to everyone. And I don't know if you could really do that. Like I don't know if you could like balance a game like that, because you can't make every character work in those situations where it's like, okay, like we have a team deathmatch / kill confirm mode, but that's like such a different gameplay thing to like something like Valorant or CS:GO, where it's like a more competitive, like, fucking one single life plant the bomb bullshit, or even like something like Overwatch, where it's like you have to capture points and it's really objective based, right? Like it's just really weird to have all those modes together in one game. I don't know how the fuck they're gonna balance that. But then, when you go with the characters, speaking of the heroes, like I feel like the most important thing for a hero shooter is to have like memorable characters, and like you see someone you like immediately want to play as them because they look cool or whatever. Like I feel like the game is really missing that, because a lot of characters just look very like, I don't give a shit. Like, like the character designs just do nothing for me. They're just guys. Like there's some cool people. There's just some mushroom guy. Like that's cool. Like there's some robots. That's kind of neat. But like again, most of them just look like just people. Like I don't want to be rude, but it do kind of look AI generated a little bit. Like just very generic like looking characters. Like I just feel like nothing for any of these people. But they play fine. Like this Farah clone that like has a rocket launcher and could fly. Like that lady is fun, I guess, but that's just because I like Farah and Soldier from TF2. So it's not really breaking new ground there. You got like some like Sombra archetype. You have like some like Soldier / COD archetype of people. Like, none of the kits really do much. Like none of them are that unique. Like only one character feels very unique, which is like the vacuum cleaner guy. He has like a suck cannon that could like suck shit up, and like he could throw debris. Like that's kind of cool. That's pretty unique. But like I feel like a lot of the characters just feel very derivative of other characters from other hero shooters, and a lot of the character designs do like nothing for me. The map design also just feels very like Destiny 2 or Halo, and which is fine, but it just like none of the maps really stick out. Like if you look at an Overwatch map, even if you hate the map in Overwatch, it does look really nice. Like, and each area feels very distinct, right? This one feels very like, okay, this is a multiplayer PvP map, and that's all it is. And I'm like, okay, cool. It doesn't really fun to explore or do anything in it. Just like, you have your corridors and your flank points, and that's about it. I don't know. The game just feels very uninspired, and like I really don't see it lasting more than like a year. Like honestly, like there's like no hype around it. There's like nothing that other games don't do better than it. It just feels like such like a waste of resources, to be honest. Again, like nothing is fundamentally wrong with it. Like it's fine, it plays fine. Like I had a decent enough time playing it, but after 30 minutes I was basically done. I'm like, okay, I don't need to like see any more of this. Like I'm kind of over it. So like that's not really a good sign, right? Like even with Overwatch, like even though like that game does so much wrong, like I still play it for like an extended period of time, just because like a lot of characters like are fun to look at and play as, and like, oh, that's unique and stuff. But yeah, I got like none of that out of Concord. So yeah, this game definitely feels like kind of dead on arrival, if I'm gonna be honest. And also the fact that they're charging $40 for it, like just to play it. And that just feels like a death sentence. It's like no one's going to pay that amount when you could just play Valorant, CSGO, Overwatch for free, right? So, yeah. And plus, this game is probably going to have paid microtransactions anyway. So it's just like, what's the point of paying $40 if I'm going to, they're going to do the same thing all these other free-to-play games are going to do anyway. So, I don't know. Concord is a weird game, and I feel nothing for it. I'm just way more excited for Astrobot than this game from Sony. Let me just say that. So... Yeah, Concord is a game that exists, so there you go.
Yeah, I saw Tarek play it, and I was like, oh, look, it looks like another shooter. That's about it.
Yep, that's literally about it.
But, yeah, so let's talk about what I've been doing. Did a little bit of Daxter. You probably have seen or are going to see my review on it very, very soon. But, yeah, I mean, I played it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it's been... a long time since I've actually played and touched this game. Same thing with Size Matters. I really didn't have a reason to go back to any of the PSP era platformer games, and this one is still one of the games that people really look back on in high regards because it did come out so early on within the PSP era. It came out in 2006, a year after the console launch. So it was like, oh, okay. Like, this is like the first ever console seller type of thing. And I mean, yeah, it still holds up. I mean, on the PlayStation 5, the emulation is very, very good. I think it looks very crisp for, the graphics that they're trying to emulate. The cutscenes, just like within Ratchet Clank Size Matters, they are kind of crusty, but you know what? What can you do? They were these cutscenes, pre-rendered cutscenes that were made for the PlayStation Portable. So, but going back to just like the gameplay and how the game overall feels, it's kind of like what you would expect from a PS2 platformer jumped onto the PSP, but also in a way where it's just Daxter. I think that the people at High Impact Games did a really great job of sort of just like making this game have its own identity, but also feel pretty good and also, just be fun to play. I think the platforming and sort of certain little things about the mechanics can be a little much. For example, I think that the fact that you don't have any like melee combos other than mashing square at the start is kind of dumb and redundant. But once you get like the, I guess like the spray gun or whatever.
I don't know what it was called. I need to play it. I'm definitely going to play that next because after Plat Size Matters, I definitely want to play Daxter again. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot more fun once you get that. But I think that for what it is, it's like a 6-hour game. I think that if you have never played it before and you want to check it out, I mean, hey, it's right there for PS4, PS5 for $10. I think you really can't go wrong there. My only issues with it is the fact that it was released on the PSP, so it kind of, doesn't age all that well. There are also certain things that I personally ran into that was just like the precursor orbs. I wanted to collect as many of them as I wanted, and when they're floating in the air, if you try to collect them, they don't attach to you instantly. So you kind of have to like go literally right on top of them for you to collect them. And sometimes they're above bottomless pits and that shit can get annoying. And I just started like skipping some of them because I'm just like, I don't want to keep rewinding and trying again to like try to get these stupid orbs because it's not worth my time right now. But overall, it's still a great time. If you are itching for Jack and Daxter action, this is definitely it. I think that, especially for their first game, High Impact Games, they definitely delivered on there. So,
yeah, I definitely want to play it again because that was one I've been like really wanting to play again, and I was like, I thought for sure that was gonna be one of the first games to put on the PSP thing, and then we have to wait like 2 years later. But I'm happy we're finally getting all the things I wanted, so that's nice. I can't really complain too much anymore. So thank you, Sony.
And then the next thing I've been playing has been taking up a lot of my time actually is TMNT Splintered Fate. So this was formerly a Apple Arcade exclusive, but it has recently been released on consoles, currently exclusive on the Nintendo Switch. It will come to PC and I believe other platforms later this year. So yeah, I mean, first impressions of it. I mean, personally, I am not the roguelike guy that is Damian. But for someone
I need
who
to play it. Yeah.
for someone who just likes Ninja Turtles and likes hack and slashes, that, you know, this game is implementing roguelike stuff in it, where after you die, you get sent back to the layer where you can upgrade your abilities, your stats, and do all of this other stuff in. It's also multiplayer. I did play 2-player co-op with my girlfriend, and that was pretty fun as well. I think they do up the enemy difficulty and all of that other stuff to just make it more balanced. But yeah, I mean, it I'm gonna be honest, this might be my game of the year so far. I'm having a fucking ton of fun with it. The frame rate can be a little choppy. It is on the Switch, and there are certain things about it that is sort of like still like mobile gamey. Like I guess when they were making the game, they didn't realize that like when you get an upgrade, it goes to like your character portrait on the top left, but the text is like off screen, and I'm like, that's a little jarring. That's like obviously like a little small complaint there. And also the game fucking crashed on me last night. That was so weird. I was like, yo, what the fuck? The game just straight up just like and I was like, okay. But luckily this is when I found out that the game has a great autosave system. So pretty much when you enter a room, it autosaves. So whatever you do during that room, if the game crashes or if for some reason you have to get up and go, because obviously if you were playing on like your phone, sometimes you might have to, you know, fucking get up and go do something. It'll save and then you'll just respawn at the beginning of that room and you just have to do everything over again. But yeah, that was just so weird because I was just like in the goddamn zone. I was having like a great run and I was like, no, did my run just finish? But no, luckily it did save. And the way that it works, this is obviously like a brand new version of the Turtles, and the way that they do it with like the dialogue is sort of like the world building is very funny. So for one thing, they very much are just like, oh look, stuff's happening. Like, oh my god, we have to face Leatherhead again. It's so stupid that we had to beat Bebop and Rocksteady a second time, you know, and all of this other stuff. We have to train harder, guys, and yada yada yada. So definitely, you know, sort of like being on the nose about it. I really do like that about the dialogue. I think one of the turtles is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal. I forget which one.
He's everywhere, bro.
I think it might be Michelangelo. I think Louis looked it up, but yeah, that was just very, very interesting. I was like, yo, what the fuck? But yeah, I mean, it pretty much has like everything that you would expect from a roguelike, where you have currency that will give you upgrades, like permanent upgrades, but also you have in-game or sort of in-level currency, which is called scrap, where pretty much you can upgrade or buy items to help you along during your run. And then after you die, you get to go back to the layer, use your various currencies to upgrade yourself, and then just go back into it. The beat 'em up aspect is a lot of fun. Obviously, you know, I think that when you have Ninja Turtles and beat 'em up, you really can't fucking go wrong there. And this is just a lot of fun. I'm playing with the Pro Controller. So pretty much when you are playing, you have the regular beat 'em up button, you have a dash, and then the X and Y buttons are your specials. But what I learned is randomly I was just hitting the triggers, and that will trigger them too. So I would definitely recommend hitting the triggers more than the face buttons, because the face buttons can get a little more cumbersome because you're beating people up, you're dashing. You don't want to also reach up there to also do your special moves. Just hit the triggers. That's definitely a lot better because you have elemental attacks. That's like one of the big things about, like, I guess like the gameplay is you have like ooze, which is like poison. That's like my favorite because pretty much when you hit a enemy, it'll tick down their health bar, and then you have flame, water, and I think another one, I forget exactly, but those elemental attacks are a lot of fun. And obviously every single run is going to be different. You're not going to get the same exact upgrades. And also you get to play as the 4 turtles. That is also another big thing. They all have their own different play styles. Obviously Raph hits the hardest, Don has the biggest range, etc., etc. What you would expect from the 4 turtles to have their own traits, they have them. And pretty much whichever turtle you stick with just fits your playstyle. I've had the most success so far with Mikey and Raph, just because I think they do the most damage. You know, I love Leo. You know, Leo is still my boy, but I think his special moves take a longer time to get off cooldown, and I just don't like the way that he plays overall. Donnie is my least favorite, unfortunately, even though he has the highest range, he takes a long time to like get his attacks out. But like I said, you could pretty much get through the game with any turtle, I feel. It just depends on how you like to play. Because obviously I like to just go in and just beat people up and like, greed just a little bit of health just to like get that little bit of damage in and whatnot. But yeah, I'm like 8 hours in, and I've still yet to like finish it. I think I'm on like the final part of it, which is like really fucking hard, just like get to Shredder. So hopefully I will get to that by the end of next week, hopefully, because I definitely want to review this game ASAP. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. The game is $30 though, which was kind of surprising for me personally, because I was like, oh, this was on like Apple Arcade exclusively, but now it's like $30. Okay, you know what? That's fine. But yeah, definitely after paying that price, I would say it is worth it. If you want to wait for it to come out on other platforms like Steam, PlayStation, whatever, do that. But I think it does run pretty well on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's pretty. I actually saw some reviews of this like right before this podcast, because I'm like, I knew this was a roguelite one, and it actually does look very similar to Hades, which I heard is both a good thing and a bad thing, just because a lot of people like it because it does feel like Hades, but it's also like you have to compare it to Hades, which is like, a top tier fucking roguelite. But I've been hearing it has been holding its own pretty well against Hades. It has very similar mechanics where you can like pick what you want. The different elemental things are basically like the different gods that you could get in Hades. And just the overall combat style looks basically like Hades as well. And I fucking love Hades, and I also like the TMNT. So I've been thinking about getting this as well. I just forgot to like get it because I remember looking at it in one of the directs. I'm like, oh, this looks really good, and then just kind of forgot about it. So I'm definitely going to be trying it because you know me, I fucking love roguelites. I like to try every single one that I can get my hands on. So I definitely am interested in this, and I think the Turtles games have been pretty good recently. So yeah, I probably will be picking it up, so maybe I could give my thoughts next week as the resident, fucking roguelite guy that's played way too many roguelites. Like, I am pretty interested in seeing how this game fares, So, yeah, it looks pretty good. Also, I've been hearing about the whole crashing thing, too. I saw, like, a lot of people bringing that up as well. And luckily, it has the same auto-saving as Hades, because Hades does the same thing where, like, auto-saves after you do a room, so you can just, like, leave and shit. So that's really nice. I think every roguelite should have that. When a roguelite doesn't have that, I'm like, why? So, yeah.
Just asking you to pull your hair out if you fucking crash or something else happens.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, but yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, and I think there is online multiplayer. So if you happen to get it on Switch, I will get Switch Online so we could tag team on.
You don't have Switch Online?
No, I don't. Fuck that. Anyways, I've been watching some shows and movies. So first up, The Boys season 4 has recently just finished. And people are very controversial or sort of conflicted with this season and sort of everything like that. So won't spoil anything, but I will say this is still a great TV show. I think that this season in and of itself is still really, really solid. I think that there's still a lot of great moments that are still like, what the fuck's going on? But I do understand that there are some like writing inconsistencies with certain characters or characters doing certain things or certain plot points happening and it not being brought up again and yada, 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 So I understand that situation because it's like, okay, yeah, like I wish that this was expanded upon more. Maybe, they explored it a little bit differently, etc., etc. But I mean, this is the first season of The Boys that I feel like really dove into like current world politics and really inserted it into the show. Like, I think during the press tour, they were not shy to like say like, yeah, like we pulled a lot of things that Trump does into Homelander and sort of like how he sort of operates and everything like that. I'm like, that's really interesting because it makes Homelander that much more insane and sort of intimidating. And that made it so like, all of the right-wing people like, wait, they were making fun of us the whole time. And it's like, yeah, they fucking were. It's been like that since goddamn day one, but it's just a lot more apparent here. And the finale, I think, really is like the icing on the cake for me personally, because, like the season is still good, but I definitely see why people don't like it as much because it does feel like a setup season for the next one, which is going to be the final season, because everything that happens within the finale kind of just turns everything on its head. I'm like, yo, what the fuck just happened? Like everything just like exploded, characters are dying, shit's happening, like what the fuck? But yeah, I mean, it's still very, very good. I can't wait for season 5. We have to wait like 2 years for it, which is fine. I'm totally okay with waiting for good TV because, once it does come out, it is always delivered, especially when it comes to The Boys so far. So very, very happy about that. And then I watched 2 movies. So first one is Fly Me to the Moon. This one is with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. This is just like a really average rom-com drama movie. I would definitely say the romance takes like a really backseat. It's more in favor of like the comedy, especially, and the drama, because there are like a lot of dumb, stupid, goofy jokes that I was laughing at, because I was like, this movie's fucking stupid. But it's pretty much about like a like fictional universe of like the sort of like space race with like, you know, Apollo 11 and all of that other stuff. And then you have Scarlett Johansson's character, who's just like a marketing sort of like, you know, specialist, and she's like, okay, I'm going to advertise NASA to America and have people, you know, buy into NASA. Then, you know, with Channing Tatum's character, he's like the director of everything. He's like, you can't fucking do this shit, yada yada yada. So, you know, stuff happens. It's fun, it's goofy. I think that if you want to watch like a very lighthearted movie that's probably not going to have a lot of people in theaters right now, watch this one. I mean, it's fun, it's dumb, it's stupid, it's goofy. You're pretty much getting what you get if you did watch the trailers from it. And then the last movie I watched is Longlegs, because how can I fucking not? Because this movie has been talked about endlessly within the, I guess, movie community, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I mean, Neon has been very, very good when it comes to picking and choosing horror movies, I believe. And they just picked up Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks, which is very, very exciting. But Longlegs, I just heard a lot of great things about this movie. Nicolas Cage definitely delivers on that. But the plot of it is pretty much about this FBI agent who's trying to find Longlegs, the serial killer. And as you follow along, you know, creepy shit starts to happen. You know, stuff starts to connect more. And I think that one person on Twitter pretty much said, if you like Alan Wake 2 with Saga Anderson's character, you should watch Longlegs, because it's pretty much like that. Kind of similarly. Me personally, I didn't really buy into the hype of this movie. I feel like it was definitely like a very good horror movie, but I think sort of people being like, oh my god, it's like, you know, like so fucking good, you know, like 10 out of 10 kind of thing. I personally didn't see it. Maybe I just have to watch it again. But I definitely do see that there's a lot of stylistic choices within this movie that are very, very good. And I definitely was, you know, enthralled with it, and I was very much invested in sort of seeing how the fuck did Longlegs come to be, and why is Nick Cage, you know, running around killing all of these people kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's good. You know, definitely go watch it, because I think that you know, horror movies in general are still like being elevated every fucking year for some goddamn reason, and it's crazy, honestly, because I feel like, you know, that genre has always been like, you know, around, and I feel like now we're still getting like really good shit. So that's great.
Yeah, I feel like horror has been like kind of getting elevated a bit, like you said. Like, you know, I feel like during the mid 2000s, it was kind of just like schlocky, whatever. Like, who gives a shit? But I feel like since like, you know, recent times, like I feel like horror has been coming back to be like, oh no, these are actually like good movies, right? So I think that's pretty good. I mean, I'm not a big fan of horror because I'm a little bitch, but you know, I think when there are good ones, you know, they're good. So
yeah.
Alrighty, so now we could hit up the news. We got 2 new Sonic X Shadow Generation stuff. So the first thing is the Dark Beginnings trailer, or teaser, I should say. So this is like sort of like the first minute of the animated sort of shorts they're gonna do. I think they're shorts, but I don't know how long they're supposed to be, because I think there's supposed to be 3 episodes of this shit now or some shit. I don't know, but either way, this shit looks sick. So so basically, it's like this more. I think it's CG, but it's like kind of like stylized like CG. Yeah, okay. 'Cause when I saw it on Twitter, so I can't really see like the full thing. But it looks like really good. Like, you know, it's really delving deep into like shadow lore. Like, we got fucking what's his face from Sonic Battle. What's his fucking name?
Emerald.
Like Emerald, yeah. Like, holy shit. I think it says there was like some backstory where like he attacked the Ark or something, and then like Shadow had to stop him. I only played a little bit of Sonic Battle because I thought that game was kind of ass, to be honest. But it was really cool to see Emerald here. Like, that's like a character I never thought I would see again. And just like, I don't know. I feel like this is the thing we should be getting with Sonic, like anime stuff. Like, you know, like I didn't hate Sonic Prime as much as other people did, but I won't lie when I'm like, I kind of want this though. Same thing with the Knuckles animated short they did for Frontiers, where I'm like, why can't we just get this as like a whole anime thing, right? Like, it's sick. Like, why can't we get that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when this dropped on Twitter, everyone was just losing their minds because it does look very, very good. And the fact that they are using this as a bridgeway to sort of retcon and also get the record straight of like Shadow's backstory, like overall, I think that's gonna be great. When all three of these episodes drop, I'm sure the Sonic community will lose their minds. Will start screenshotting certain scenes or whatever because just from this one teaser trailer, it looks very, very polished, and I cannot wait to see how it all looks in its entirety. I mean, this is definitely the year of Shadow, and I'm glad that we are getting stuff like this. And I guess on the sort of topic of like animated Sonic stuff, it's been a while since we've gotten something a little more serious, a little more grounded, I would say, because Sonic Boom's good. I haven't watched it yet, but I heard that it is a very good comedy show. And with Sonic Prime, I thought that it was fine. I definitely think that the first season is the best because afterwards it kind of just like loses its footing after a while, and it's kind of just like, hey guys, like how do we end this? I don't really know. We're just gonna keep moving along, and then we're just gonna get to whatever conclusion that they came up to. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see this, and I hope that this opens the bridgeway and the sort of gateway for other Sonic animated stuff that's not just shorts or whatever the case is.
Yeah, like I just want more stuff like this, and hopefully Sega is like kind of keep that in count when it's just like, yeah, we could do something a little more. It doesn't have to be edgy or whatever. It just has to be, just like not for toddlers. That's all I'm really asking for.
Yeah.
And next we got some more gameplay stuff. This is more just showing like what levels they're pulling from. So we have like side-by-side comparisons of like Sonic Adventure 2 and like the Sonic X Shadow Generation levels. We have the rail station from Sonic Heroes and Kingdom Valley from 06, and they look really good. Like I'm actually like shocked, like because Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic 06 kind of have like the same sort of level design where it's like very like it has the adventure level design, right? Like Sonic Heroes is a bit different, and I'm kind of surprised how well they were able to translate it here to Sonic X Shadow Generations. Like I know they did that in Generations with Seaside Hill, but I feel like that stage is a lot easier to process just because it's like very standard starting area in any Sonic game.
Yeah.
Rail Station, like you have a lot more stuff going on, so that's kind of cool to see it in like a modern game, right? So no matter how you feel about Sonic Heroes, I think it's pretty neat. And I kind of hope there is more levels because they have been showing these 3 levels the whole time. So I do wonder if these are the only 3 levels plus the white space area, like the overworld type area you have. I think there has to be at least, they have to have a Shadow the Hedgehog level. That would be weird if they didn't.
Yeah.
So
I think someone on Twitter that works at Sega was like, don't worry guys, there's more. Don't worry.
Okay,
so,
that's good.
They gotta keep some secrets and whatnot, so.
I think like 6 levels would be nice. Like, I'm not expecting it to be like huge, but I am expecting it to be like, more than 3 levels, right? So hopefully we have another 3 levels ready to go. And, because they can still do more stuff with Adventure 2 Heroes and obviously Shadow the Hedgehog itself, the game. So, yeah, hopefully we get stuff like that. But yeah, I'm still very excited for this game. Again, I think they're going really hard with this game for no reason, and I'm all about it because it's like they really didn't have to go so hard for just a basic ass remake, but they did. So I'm very excited for this game to come out. I do hope the Shadow stuff is of really good quality because I think it will really show that Sonic Team really is like taking a lot of criticisms and like they really are trying to make better games now. Like I think Frontiers, I know people are sick of hearing the step in the right direction, but I do think it was a step in the right direction, and to continue this with Shadow X Sonic Generations and onward, then I'll be really excited to see what they cook up. So that's not something I felt like I haven't been able to say about Sonic in a while, so it feels nice to be like really optimistic about the fucking Hedgehog now, even though it's not the blue one, it's it's the other one, but that's fine.
Yeah. Definitely excited to see how Sonic X Shadow Generations pans out because this side-by-side comparison trailer was pretty good. I mean, just being able to see how the levels look directly side by side. I mean, Shadow moves so fucking slow in Sonic 06. That was so funny that Johnny pointed that out. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, he is moving like incredibly goddamn slow in that game. But yeah, I'm very, very happy that, they are taking the correct steps and, making this sort of like mini expansion DLC thing for Shadow the best way possible, making sure that the animations are spot on, that the visuals themselves obviously look fantastic. So, and on top of that, I think it was just revealed today that the reverse cover art for the North American copy will have the sort of cooler Japanese box art. So if you want that, you could just reverse the cover and you don't have to buy a second copy like I was about to do. But yeah, very, very excited for Sonic X Shadow Generations, and I cannot wait to see when it finally comes out later this year in October.
Hell yeah.
Now we got Nintendo has officially released official Joy-Con charging station. So people are theorizing that they are now coming out with this because the Switch 2 is going to have different Joy-Cons or whatever. So they're like, but the old Joy-Cons will still be compatible with the new Switch. So if you want to charge them, you're going to have to use this new charging station. So yeah, I mean, 7 years too late, whatever the case is. I mean, I have like a third-party one that works just fine. I'm not exactly too crazy about getting this new official one. But I'm sure that people out there are probably going to buy this for collecting sake, or hey, maybe they still don't have a charging station for whatever reason. So yeah, I mean, it's very basic. It could only charge 2 at a time, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
I mean, the only time Joy-Cons are useful is when like people are over, because I never use those fucking things. The Joy-Cons legit have to be the worst Nintendo controller. Like they are very bad. Like I the Pro controller is like one of my favorite Nintendo controllers, but the the Joy-Cons are fucking terrible. So like I try to avoid them as much as possible. But it is cool for people to have multiple. Like again, if you have friends over, they're really useful to just hand out. So I don't have no charging station. I only have 2 Joy-Cons too. Like I don't have a lot. So yeah, probably won't be getting this, but them releasing this late into the Switch lifespan definitely means the Switch 2 is gonna use Joy-Cons. Like I don't really think people are thinking anything different. Like they weren't gonna use Joy-Cons, but I definitely think they are gonna use Joy-Cons at this point. So really eager to see what the Switch 2 is actually gonna like entail once we actually see it. But them keep supporting the Switch really makes me think that the Switch 2 is basically just going to be an extension of the Switch. So yeah, I guess we'll see when it comes out. Hopefully it's not another Wii U situation. I doubt it, but I guess we'll see in time.
Yeah, let's hope that the naming scheme isn't too confusing. Just keep it.
I mean, just call it Switch 2, bro. Like,
yeah,
it really
just keep
doesn't
it nice and easy. Switch 2, Super Switch. I don't fucking know. Just don't call it Switch U.
Yeah, just Switch 2. Like, it's fine. All right, so next we got we got a lot of Nintendo news. Starfy 1, 2, and 3 are now playable on Nintendo Switch Online. And this is really cool because Starfy 1, 2, and 3 never came out in the States. It was only in Japan for the GBA. So, I think most people in America probably know Starfy from the DS game. I mean, that's the one I know it from.
Yeah.
And that game was good. I liked it. I think I played a bit of it and then traded it for something else. I can't remember, but I liked it. I didn't mind it because it was very like, oh, this looks like Kirby. As a kid, I'm just gonna buy it. I thought it was a Kirby spinoff for a while when I was a kid, but it's not. But it's cool that Starfy 1, 2, and 3 are now on Switch. They're not translated or anything. They're still in Japanese, but you could play them. And for a 2D platformer, you probably don't need to read too much anyway, so it's probably fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool, and I really do hope to do that for other games. Obviously, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, they should do it for Mother 3," but I'm like, bro, that game's a JRPG. Like you kind of have to read for that. So unless you know Japanese, I don't think that's gonna do very well. Like that game, we still need a translation for it. But for other Japanese games that like it doesn't really matter if they're in Japanese, I think that they should just bring them over because like why not? So that's a really cool thing to just have on the Nintendo Switch Online thing. And this is even, I guess, more value for your money because this is for the GBA one and that costs extra money. So more value there for you if you want it. So yeah, pretty neat actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely very, very cool. I'm glad that Nintendo just, randomly dropped, this bomb to the 5 Starfy fans, including Ant Dude, to sort of just be like, hey, now you can play them on Switch Online, and, they're nice HD, you can play them on your TV. I think that's really, really neat. And, like you said, with the whole, translation thing, I think Ant Dude even said it within his video. He's like, this is a fucking platformer. You don't really need to know what the text is saying here.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's same thought process. They're like, yeah, sure. We'll just fucking drop it on here, see how it does. And I'm sure that there's people out there that are trying the series out for the very first time. If not, trying it out again since the DS game because that DS game was actually the 4th game or whatever. But obviously, the games don't really, I guess, connect all that well, or it doesn't really matter. So, pretty cool, nevertheless.
Yeah, definitely. I probably want to try it out at some point. So,
All right, so we got some pretty weird news at first. Randomly Nintendo was just like, they were just dropping these weird images with like this man with a smiling face on a bag. People like, what the fuck is this, a survival horror game that Nintendo's doing? But no, they are reviving a old series that they did a while back, Famicom Detective Club, and this is just a brand new entry within it, and it is Emio, the Smiling Man, and it is coming out later this year on August, I believe, 29th or 20th or something like that. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty goddamn cool. I think that people that wanted a survival horror game, sucks. But, I think Nintendo actually developing a M-rated sort of creepy horror game in and of itself is pretty cool. I think that that is something that people should go out and support in and of itself, because I feel like Nintendo is very much like the Mario Zelda company, and they are very much family friendly, but I think them stepping out of that bubble every once in a while is pretty cool, even if it is something sort of, I guess, tame like this, where it's just a murder detective game kind of thing. So
yeah, it's pretty cool to see Nintendo sort of like branch out, even though this was technically one of the first games they made. It's kind of cool to see them come back to it after like 30 years. I think I guess the remakes did well enough in like 2021 to like justify making a new one. And that's pretty cool. It seems like there was enough interest there to really bring it back. And I do think these games definitely have a place. Like, people really like these sort of like detective visual novelty type games. But what is it, like Danganronpa and like things like Ace Attorney? I know they're not like horror games or anything, but very similar structure how those games work. So, and those games are very successful. So I think Nintendo was like, oh, we could do something with this. I think the art's really nice. I think they have a cool little mystery set up. They got the main Metroid guy too, so that's pretty cool. He's directing, and I think he's doing something for this game because he was the one talking about what they're doing with the game. So that's pretty neat to see. I don't know if he did much with Metroid Dread, so I guess he's just like, well, I gotta do something else. So I guess I'm gonna do this.
He was producer, so yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. But yeah, pretty cool to see them revive like an IP that's been dead for a while. I know some people are like pissy, like, oh, but why not F-Zero? But they just do their own thing. Like sometimes they pick project. Also, this one just probably wasn't as much money to make than a new fucking F-Zero game, right? So they're like, oh, we could do this one a little quick, nice little game there. So, and the marketing was pretty good for it too. So there you go.
Yeah, pretty much
everyone's scratching their heads like, what the fuck is this?
Pretty much everyone was just like, yo, what the hell is this? Because if they just dropped like this video like randomly, no one would have cared. But the fact that they teased it with that smiling man image, everyone was like, yo, what the fuck's going on? So now more eyes are on it, and I might pick it up at launch. Who knows? It is only $50 and it is getting a physical release as well, so more of a reason for me to pick it up personally, because I always know Nintendo games never drop in price, and especially one like this where it's going to be sort of obscure and kind of weird. Definitely want to try to get that as soon as it comes out, because we're at the end of the Switch lifespan, so I don't know how long they're going to be printing this game, but yeah, that's just my collector brain talking here.
Again, the Switch, man, what an incredible run for a fucking console. Like, every time I think this console is done producing games, it's like, nah, we got like 5 more in me. Like, crazy system. But yeah, now we got some sad news. So, Activision devs have mentioned that the Crash 5 that never was. So basically on Twitter, one of the, I believe he was an artist at Toys for Bob, confirmed that they canceled a game called Codename Dragon. Granted, this was a new IP. This had nothing to do with Spyro. So, don't worry if you're worried about like a Spyro like 4 getting canceled or whatever. But also apparently a Crash 5 game was also canceled, I believe. So it was like two games got canceled at Toys for Bob. And that doesn't really surprise me, because I believe Crash Team Rumble did really bad. And
really? Oh my god.
Yeah, who would have expected that game to do bad? And I think Crash 4 did good. It did really good, actually, but Activision was still not happy with its sales, because it's just like, oh, it's not Call of Duty numbers, obviously. So I think that left Toys for Bob in a weird position, and why they kind of split from Microsoft in general. Like, now they're independent, but I kind of expected a lot of projects to get canceled for them, because when you split to be independent, you're gonna have a lot less money, and things just aren't gonna happen anymore. So it doesn't really surprise me that their new IP or Crash 5 would have been canceled. I think they are making a Spyro. Like, I think that's a thing they're still still making, but I'm not sure what they're doing right now. Either way, it really does suck because apparently, like, Crash 5 and this unknown game were supposed to be like really good. Like, they were really proud of it. So, they're all really sad that's like not happening anymore, which is, it's sad because, even though I think 3D platformers have been gaining a huge resurgence in recent times, like, it's not as bad as it used to be back in the day, like back in the 360 early PS4 days when there was like basically zero 3D platformers coming out at all. Like, but now we got a couple of good ones coming out pretty recently. But it's always sad when like potentially good ones are just canceled. But especially when Toys for Bob, which are great developers, like I think they've proven themselves a lot over the last few years that they definitely know how to make a good 3D platformer. Like, I know Crash 4 had some issues with the 100%ing it because that game is a fucking mess to 100%, but it's still a great game. Like, Crash 4 was great. So it's sad to see them, kind of eat shit here, but at least they're not closing down, so that's not something a lot of other developers could say at the moment. I know it's a really low bar, but that's just kind of where we're at right now,
Yeah, I mean, Crash 4 was definitely a very big surprise, I would say. It was a few years after the Insane Trilogy has been out, and then they were like, hey, now we're making an official Crash 4, and that was a great game, honestly. I had a really great time playing that. Obviously with the whole, when the original trilogy came out and now we have Crash 4, it's like, okay, now they were able to add in a lot of different mechanics and gimmicks that were in other 3D platformers that were never in Crash, like grinding on rails. Like, I thought that was like pretty neat, along with some other things that they did with the mass or whatever. And then, Crash Team Rumble came out and no one gave a shit. I mean, who the fuck cared, honestly? Like, I saw that game and I was like, should I buy it? Probably not. It's kind of like dead on arrival kind of thing, because it is like a nice spin-off concept for it, but they had like this whole like online multiplayer strategy for it with like a battle pass and all this other stuff, I think, and I was just like, I don't know if that's actually gonna work, which obviously it didn't. The game is like average. Pretty much critics were like, it's fine, which is what I expected, but for Activision to just be like, well, that didn't do well, so now we're just not gonna make another Crash game. Like they had the blueprints for another Crash trilogy in their hands right then and there, with each sequel potentially making more sales every single time, because Crash 4, the biggest problem with it was the fact that the 100% completion run was goddamn hell. I feel like anyone who's done that is psychotic, honestly, because that is such an insane path to do. There's so much shit. There's like, obviously, like, the stuff, how much you have to do is already abundant as is, but also the challenges and then just doing it itself, challenging, so fucking hard. But Crash 5, what never came to be, it is what it is. I feel like Crash Bandicoot fans have been through this cycle over and over again, and they might just have to go through it again. Fuck it, I'm a fucking Sly Cooper fan, so I've been through this hellhole more times than I want to admit, but it is what it is. So I hope that, one day Microsoft realizes that they should tap into their abundance of IPs that isn't just, Gears of War, Halo, whatever Blizzard IPs they have, and, actually fucking do something with them and, not just pump out the same stuff year after year, because that is honestly what is killing Xbox at the moment.
Yeah, Xbox has been kind of in the shitter at the moment, as we've been saying for the last like year at this point. So, but yeah, very sad for Toys for Bob, and I think they're very good developers, and it's kind of sad to see them kind of lose like a potentially really cool IP in the process. But at least they're not closed down. Again, that's the only positive I could say, is like at least they were able to leave. They haven't closed down, so they could actually do other games. It's gonna take a while, but I'm happy they're still around, because like they make good games, so I don't want them to die. So. And
they're currently working with Xbox Game Studios to create a untitled game at the moment. We don't know what that is. Whatever it is, I hope that it is good and it is something that they are passionate and love about. But if I was Xbox or Phil Spencer, I'd be like, hey, like after you're done with that game, do you want to make another Crash Bandicoot game again or whatever, and then just fucking give them the reins, let them do whatever the fuck they want. But that's probably not gonna happen, because that is in a ideal world and we live in reality, unfortunately.
Yep.
Anyways, we got Agatha all along. So this is a series that people have been shaming and sort of hating on ever since it was even announced, because people are like, who the fuck wants this, which is very, very true. I'm not even sure we're going to watch it for the week-to-week discussion. We might just wait until it's all out and then talk about it. But anyways, this trailer, I'm I'm going to be honest, it kind of surprised me. I was like, yo, this shit's going in like a very dark direction. It looks like it's genuinely trying to do like some horror stuff with it, which might be kind of cool. And, you know, if you're going to do it with a character like Agatha, people who don't really, you know, pay attention to or really care about, you know, outside of WandaVision, you know what? Then go for it. I mean, I'm down for the MCU to try new and different things because obviously they have been losing track of it. It still looks like a MCU show, so that is like the whole downside of it, but it does look like it is pulling a lot of different horror elements into this show. Now, will it work? Who knows? But I think that this trailer has sold me enough on it that I will be watching it when it comes out on Disney Plus September 18th.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably watch it too, just because, like, why not, I guess. But it's also like, you know, I'm kind of waiting for the MCU to, like, you know, do something big at this point. Like, and I'm hoping, like, you know, a Deadpool, Wolverine, and Captain America, which we'll talk about in a second. Like, you know, I have more faith in them to, like, really start, like, pushing the MCU in, like, a better direction at this point, just because, you know, I felt for the longest time, I haven't really felt, I still don't really feel like MCU fatigue or anything. It's more like I just want something good again. So, because, you know, I loved Guardians 3 and I really like No Way Home and stuff. Like, you know, Guardians 2 was legit, like, fucking great, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like everything since then and some of the in-between stuff, like Loki was really good. But, you know, I feel like they had a lot more misses than hits recently. And it's just been like, and now we've been in a big drought that hasn't really been anything for a while, which is probably for the best. Like, you know, I don't want them to just keep churning out stuff that's like bad or whatever. So, but, you know, there's been just a lot of mediocre stuff or just straight up bad stuff like Secret Invasion, where I'm just like, do I really care about Agatha at the moment? Like, not really. I think I'll feel better about it after I watch like Deadpool. I need something to get my faith back up a bit, you know? I feel like Agatha won't really do that for me, but I'll probably still watch it. You know, they got some cool stuff in there. I mean, same thing with, you know, Multiverse of Madness had some like cool little horror stuff into it as well. And it's cool that like this movie is also going to have some of that as well. Not movie, I'm sorry, series. You know, depending on how well it does, I don't know. It might be mid like the rest of them, but I guess we'll see when it comes out. I think the witch stuff is pretty neat. You know, Agatha herself is a pretty, you know, fun character. I don't know how she's going to be as a main character, but she looks like she'll be a fun time to be around regardless. So I guess we'll see when it actually comes out. And, you know, the timing is good too. It's coming out around like Halloween season. So that's pretty cool. But, you know, I don't know if I have a lot of faith in it just because I don't think they have a lot of faith in this fucking show. I feel like this has been in development hell for so long. To change the name like 50 times, I'm like, I don't know, bro. We'll see. We'll see. It could surprise me. I don't know. But right now, I'm just like, well, I'll watch it when it comes out. Sure.
Yeah. It does have 9 episodes, and they are premiering it with 2. So, you know, we'll see. But I'll leave it at that.
All right. So next we have 2 other trailers that actually are pretty good. So we got Captain America: Brave New World. This is like sort of a teaser trailer of what's going to happen. So we have a lot of like Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie here. You know, obviously like Mr. President there is kind of evil, or he's acting a little sussy. And, you know, it's kind of cool to see Falcon really, you know, because obviously we had Falcon and Winter Soldier, but this is sort of the first time like he is like Captain America, right? And, you know, I think that's really cool. We're going to see him how different he is from Steve Rogers. And it's cool. Like that last line is like, you're not Steve Rogers. Like, yeah, I'm not. I'm like, damn, cold line, bro. So yeah, honestly, it looks pretty good. You know, I've always liked the Captain America series in general, just because they're more political thrillers than anything, or as much as an MCU movie could be. And this movie looks like it's going to be taking that same direction. And, you know, I know this has also been through a bit of production hell. It had changed the name a few times. It was called like New World Order or something before.
Yeah, that's not good.
So, which is a little sussy. So, you know, but it does look good. Like, I really like, you know, it feels very tense. You know, I think Anthony Mackie could really carry the movie, you know, if he's given a good script and stuff. I mean, I did like Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I am excited to see what they do with this movie. I know Red Hulk's supposed to be in it as well, so that's pretty neat. But yeah, overall, it's really giving me those same feelings like the other Captain America movies did, which is, you know, a pretty high bar to say, because again, those are some of the better MCU movies. So definitely excited to see this. I'm excited to see what he brings to the Captain America character and how he can move it forward. So yeah, definitely I'm excited for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, the way this trailer was edited and the music and everything just about it, how it was cut together, I'm like, like this is a fucking trailer for sure.
Yeah.
I just really liked it, and obviously I am a huge fan of the Captain America movies, and I really like the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I really think that that was a great show to just bridge the gap between Endgame into what we are going to see with this new Captain America and Sam Wilson. And I'm excited for it. I really do like Anthony Mackie within this role. I think he makes a great Sam Wilson and now Captain America. I think that Harrison Ford, as Ross now, I think is going to be very, very funny. The MCU never surprises me with how they sort of recast characters and how they're sort of able to bridge that, sort of him being like, had to shave the stash or whatever. I was like, all right, you know what? I like that line. But yeah, I'm excited for this film. There is definitely a lot of controversy surrounding it just because there is still a character that is from Israel and people are sort of sussy on that. I think they went through post-production and sort of twist the character around to be like an ex-SHIELD agent or something like that. So it doesn't exactly sort of directly tie with that. But then people are like, okay, but you also have Sharon Carter or whatever the fuck, from the previous show. Why not just bring her for that role or whatever? It just seems like there's a lot of moving parts here that are just not working as well. But I hope that the one thing that I want from this movie is that Anthony Mackie delivers as Captain America. That's all I really want, because I feel like if the movie flops anywhere else, you can't really blame him as that character, because people are going to, no matter what's going to happen, people are going to blame his portrayal of Captain America if this movie doesn't do so well, which I hope it doesn't. I'm banking on this film to do well, because I really do like all of these characters, all of these actors, and I hope that whatever story that they happen to tell within here lands, because I know they went through reshoots and a bunch of other shit. So
yeah, I'm just hoping it's good. Like I do have a good feeling about this movie, and I feel like we need it. So definitely excited for it. Hopefully it sticks to landing. So that's all I can hope for.
Exactly. It is scheduled to come out February 14, 2025. Then lastly, we got Deadpool and Wolverine, the final trailer. It is coming out next week, so very, very exciting for the people that only go to theaters to watch superhero movies, aka Damian.
Let's go.
But yeah, this final trailer was great. I mean, it sort of nails home the sort of story that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are going to be going on, sort of him being like, I don't know how to save worlds and my world's falling apart, so I need you, this version of Logan / Wolverine, to really come in and help him with that. And it does show some clips from the other movies that has Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, including Logan, which, now that we know that Daphne Keane is in the movie, more reason for people to watch Logan before seeing this film. And Logan is like one of, if not the best superhero film out there. It is definitely within my top 3. It is so fucking good. So if you have not watched that movie, now you have to, because Daphne Keane as X-23 is in it. So I wish that they kept that a secret, but you know what? It is what it is. But yeah, very, very excited for this film.
Yeah, I'm actually like shocked by this trailer, because obviously a Deadpool movie is always like jokey, and the last few trailers were jokey, but this one's actually like like that they're doing stuff. Like it's gonna be more of like like evolving like Deadpool's character and Wolverine's character too. Like that's really cool. It kind of gives me like Guardians 3 vibes, where it's like obviously still has jokes, but they really do try to make it like a really good either send off or like whatever they're gonna try to do with Wolverine here for that character. Because I thought Guardians 3 did that very well. Like it had that comedy moments is really funny, but also like a lot of great just character moments and just ending that sort of trilogy, right? So I'm kind of hoping this movie does the same for Deadpool, because I was shocked by how like serious this, well, not serious, but like it wasn't as jokey. I'm like, oh shit, like actually is like they're doing stuff here, which is really neat. And yeah, I've seen X-23 again. That's really neat. I loved Logan, but I feel like I need to rewatch it before I watch this movie again, because it's been like a long time. I forgot when that movie came out, but it was quite a while ago. So I definitely want to watch it again, because that was a very good movie. So yeah, definitely I'm excited for this movie. I won't be able to watch it when it comes out, unfortunately. I'm going to have to wait a little bit, just because, every movie theater is packed right now for those tickets, and I didn't buy them. That's kind of my bad. I was like, fuck, I probably should have done that like way sooner, but whatever. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. Hopefully I don't get spoiled, because, Twitter likes to spoil things. I didn't even watch The Boys yet, and I was spoiled like immediately with the finale. I don't even know what's happening, but I guess that person's dead. So cool. But anyway, movie looks great. Hopefully it's good. And that's all I can hope for. I think Deadpool 1 and 2 are both great movies. And I know 2 is like a little more like not as great as 1, but they were still really good. So hopefully with the Disney, the Disney stuff doesn't really hamper it and just enhances it a bit more to make funny jokes. But I guess we'll see. Also, I never noticed when they're in like that wasteland fighting each other, I never noticed the 20th Century Fox thing in the fucking background.
Oh, you didn't?
I don't know why I didn't notice that till now. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, well, there you go.
That was
I need a game explain for that, bro. I need a trailer analysis.
That was like one of the biggest things that was leaked during the, I guess, like the set photos or whatever. So, yeah, just excited for this film. I still remember when I saw Logan in 2017 when it was still in theaters. That was literally the first movie I saw by myself in theaters. And I remember that experience so much because it was just like, yeah, that was like a great ass movie. And then I just walked to my car afterwards, just like thinking about it. Like, yeah, like that was like the perfect superhero movie. But yeah, definitely also going to rewatch Logan. I might rewatch it in black and white because I think they have that on the Blu-ray or whatever. So definitely going to be doing that. But anyways, Star Wars The Acolyte has now finished. We are going to talk about episodes 7 and 8, but also just the series overall. So just straight up spoilers, obviously. I'm just going to give my review of it real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of things. This is probably the best Star Wars thing that Disney has pumped out since The Mandalorian season 1. I'm going to say it. The Mandalorian in and of itself has been, teetering up and down as of late between the other seasons. But I feel like Star Wars The Acolyte is just like a really solid, just like one season thing that you could show to really anyone that, you don't really need to explain all that much about Star Wars. You got the Jedi, you got the Sith, boom, done. And then you watch The Acolyte and you see that this is the first ever Star Wars show, or I guess like mainstream piece of media that really dives into like, are the Jedi good? Are the Sith bad? Or do they just have like a different way of doing things? And these last 2 episodes really do bring that all together because, we see Sol do some pretty bad things, all things considered. He's not exactly the good guy at the end of the day, and that sort of transforms Osha and May's characters for the better or worse, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, this show is just so goddamn good. I feel like if you have anyone that wants to get into Star Wars, obviously have them watch those, movies, obviously the 9. And then if they want to watch a show, Mandalorian, The Acolyte, Andor, those are definitely up there.
Yeah, I liked it as well. I do have some issues with how they approach some things in the last 2 episodes with Sol's character and some like what they were trying to do. Like I get what they were trying to do, but I don't know if they did it like well enough. But I still liked it a decent amount. Like I think the fight scenes were very good. Like I really enjoyed all the fight scenes a lot. I think them exploring the the origins of Sith stuff was pretty neat. Even though they had to like rewrite stuff because like a lot of the canon, like the previous canon, was wiped. So there's kind of like their way to like redo everything, which is cool. But I do have some issues with how they approach like Jedi bad, Sith maybe good type deal. Because I feel like some of it kind of got a bit lost, or maybe they didn't do it as well as I think they should have done throughout the rest of the series. But I think overall it's still pretty interesting. And again, I always like the idea that Jedi probably aren't always necessarily good, and they're more just like the zealot cult religion thing that's way too strong for their own good, and they could like basically like control like powers and shit. So I think it does that pretty well. But yeah, I guess we have to actually talk about the episodes before I really get into my grievances. I mean, it's mostly with the episode before this. So with Sol, they really want him. I feel like they're almost gaslighting me to be like he's like the worst person ever. And I feel like everyone in the series has done a shit ton of mistakes, and I feel like they mostly have just put on Sol. Like, all right, so for Jedi, they feel like it's their right to take Force-sensitive children and like train them in like Jedi temples, right? Like that's obviously fucked up because they're like taking children even though they don't want to. And I guess it's like doubly kind of weird because I think Sol saw Osha and May and be like, okay, well they're also like not even like people. They're like basically like a Force weapon. So that means I really have to take them from their mother, right? And that's pretty fucked up, but that's just what the Jedi would doing at the time. The thing that doesn't rub me the right way is when it says you kill my mother. When this has been getting brought up a lot on Twitter, and I kind of agree with it. When I'm like, she did turn to a scary smoke demon. Like, what the fuck you think was gonna happen to get shot? Like, she's just like, oh, I was just gonna get May or whatever. I'm like, bro, why did you do the scary thing? So, but yeah, like I feel like putting all the blame on him feels a little weird. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it or anything, because I do think like him lying to Osha the whole time is also fucked up. Like he should have just said it at some point. I get that he was also, he was probably also felt guilty too. Like there's a lot of nuance there that I feel like the show kind of throws away in the last episode, just being like, oh, he was just the bad guy the whole time. Without really looking at all the different characters. Like I feel like the Coven is also as guilty for making this force sensitive weapon of a child and making her live her life like this. Like that's a little fucked up too. Same thing with Sif Man, who's just like, he's a Sif and he killed a fucking kid in the last in the last 3 episodes, but we're just like, oh, he's okay because he's hot. Like, that's kind of weird. But that's like kind of my big kind of disagreement with just like the last 2 episodes. Like I feel like there's still cool fight scenes and stuff, and I actually think the Green Lady, I think they're going to do a better job of her because her character feels a bit more like she could like. They've been planting the seeds of her being a bit more weird and a little evil or whatever. For Soul, I feel like the whole time they've been, I guess it's supposed to be a twist, right? Like, oh, like, he's a good guy, but until he's not. But I feel like they didn't really write it as well as I think they should have. Or they should have placed a lot more blame on like everyone else in the story. Honestly, I think my favorite outcome of what would have happened at the end of the series if Osha just went fucking berserk and just killed everyone and went her own way and just being like, okay, now I'm gonna like train with fucking Darth Plagueis who's in the cave for some reason. I think that probably would have been a bit better to really unlock her dark side. But it doing this weird ending where she's like, just training with the Sith Lord, even though it's like I get that's her dream because she wants to be some Jedi, even though they're not really Jedi. But I guess they don't know that yet. I don't know. It just feels a bit weird. I feel like I was kind of gaslit into being like, Soul is like the only bad guy in the show. And I feel like there's a lot of like people that were wronged in this whole story, But that's just me. I don't think it really detracts it too much, but it does feel a bit weird at the end. Where I'm like, I don't know. I feel like he doesn't deserve the whole fall for everything that happened,
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was like a group effort, sort of like hiding everything where it was like, May blew it up and she started the fire, yada, yada, yada. And then, Soul decided that he just wasn't going to tell her ever. And, that was definitely like his biggest flaw there. And also, him killing the mom. I thought that was like kind of crazy and kind of insane that he did that either way. Cause obviously they were, I guess at that point he thought that she was going to attack, even though she said that her intentions were different. Obviously we will never fucking know. But it's just like, shit happened. I guess I bought into the more of like Soul's the bad guy, even though like, fucking Lee Jung Jae, he's a fantastic actor. He really put everything into this role. And I'm glad that, he is getting the praise that he deserves for this performance because he was fucking fantastic.
He was really good. Yeah.
But, was he actually the bad guy in the end? I think the overall, just like the Jedi in and of themselves were just like, not the best in terms of like how they operated within this one mission in particular, which,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Is just like the downfall of all of their demises, So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, and I feel like at the end, the speech, I keep forgetting the Green Lady's name, but, her basically pinning the whole blame on Soul is a good character thing for her because she is kind of like sort of swifting the blame from the Jedi like council just to him, and even though it's not like it was like you said, it's a collective effort, right? So that one I don't mind just because that's like for actual plot, like that makes sense because it's like, oh, one bad apple doesn't run the bunch or whatever, even though a lot of Jedi are like kind of weird and like not great people. But I do feel like Soul was more of a victim of like more tragic circumstances that made him like that. And even then, I still don't think he was really a monster. Like I felt like they probably should have played more into him. And I keep forgetting the Sith guy's name.
Kamir.
Kamir. I felt they probably gonna play more into them both being like, kind of like opposite sides of the same coin or whatever the fuck. But I felt like they didn't really do that. They kind of just wanted Soul just to be just the person to get rid of this season, and I guess they deal with that with the next season because they definitely are setting up for a second season, which is pretty neat. But I guess that was my only issue. Where I felt like they put like a weird amount of blame on Soul, even though I feel like it was more like Jedi and everything else happening around it. And I felt like they should have played more into it being more of a tragic story about him than anything else. Also, I feel like the switch up with May and Osa were kind of weird at the end too. Like I feel like Osha makes sense because she was very like, she was very angry and about the Soul situation and all that. And it would make sense that she would snap or whatever. And she was very showing that she was more potent in the Force, that she could Force choke for the first time, I guess. But I feel like May's turn of character felt kind of weird. It's just like now she's the sensible one and it feels a little weird. That part I didn't really understood either. But either way, I think at the end of the day, I think the Acolyte is still pretty good. I would still rate it probably like number 3 for me, like between like Andor and Mandalorian, it would probably be number 3. But I do think some of the writing does feel a bit weird towards the end, and I'm hoping the second season kind of clears some things up with the Jedi Council. Like now that, I think the Green Lady is like, she is like not a great person. She is covering up a lot more stuff than Soul did. So I think that's going to be interesting. But either way, I enjoyed the series. I still think like some of that stuff was like, it just didn't sit right with me as much.
Yeah, there were definitely, a lot of little things that people were upset about, like the whole lightsaber turning from blue to red when...
That's just whatever. It just looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. Me personally, when I saw that moment, I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, but I fucking love it because it just
like
looks...
Demon Slayer, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just fucking looks cool. Like, know, it's just, whether it messes up the canon or whatever the fuck is going on here, I'm like, well... It looked cool, like that's fine, along with all of the other action pieces that they had throughout the entire series in and of himself. But I think that what they wanted to do was to sort of have open area for another season, which is why, they didn't have just, Osha just fucking kill everyone. But,
funny though.
That would have been like a really good like ending for like a one-off season. But obviously, this is Star Wars we're talking about here. If there's money to be made, they're going to try to make money out of it. And, I think that people shipping Khmer and May definitely, or Osha, I should say, definitely makes sense because, they definitely had some sort of tension going on within episode 6. And you know what? I'm all for it. I think that it can make a really great story to just see them two sort of train with each other, and also just randomly having Darth Plagueis just fucking there. I was just like, who the fuck is this weirdo just like on the goddamn island? And then obviously I go on Twitter afterwards, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's some...
Yeah, it's Darth Plagueis, yeah.
Yeah, some Sith Lord that I have no idea about, so...
Yeah. Yeah, he was the one that they always meme like he trained Palpatine. I believe that was the lore or whatever the fuck. I mean, Yoda, we see Yoda at the end too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But I wonder what they are going to go with the second season, if they are going to make May and Khmer into more like obviously a couple. I mean, they're probably going to lean into that, but also like if they are going to go more into the dark side, or if they're going to go more for like this neutral route of the Force. I don't really know. Like I'm kind of leaning more into like they both go neutral at the end. Like I think like Osha is still a good person deep down. It's just a tragedy and stuff happens, and she was able to use the dark side. And I think the main message of this whole series is like it's okay to show some emotion. Like you don't have to be so stoic and like shun all emotion like the Jedi always do, but also not too emotionally unstable like Sith, where you use that as your power or whatever the fuck. So I think they're definitely going to lean more into like the neutral side of whatever. So that's pretty interesting of how they go for it. I think Khmer and Soul were definitely my favorite characters of the show. Like I think May and Osha, I guess that one character, but May and Osha were also good. But I feel like Soul and him were like definitely my favorite because they were just kind of cool. So overall, good series. I think some of the writing is a little weird, and they could have like tighten things up just a little bit and kind of not explain, but just kind of show some more stuff. But either way, I think it was still pretty good. I think some of these lightsaber fights are some of my favorite in the series now. They were very nice, especially like, the scene where he first shows up and like murders all the Jedi. Like that was sick. And the final fight here was also really cool. You got some like kung fu stuff going on, which was really cool. So overall, I enjoyed the series, and I'm looking forward to see what they do for the next part. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we do get to see more of the Acolyte, because I think that Disney have a hit on their hands when it comes to Star Wars. Just one last thing, I want to talk about David Harewood. He was the sort of senator that sort of showed up on the last episode and was just eating up the fucking Jedi. Like, you guys just use your power, Jedi are bad, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, nah, he's fucking right. I fucking love him. And Alan Wake 2, he was fantastic there. So when I saw him within this show, I was like, wait, what the fuck? That's the guy from Alan Wake. So yeah, definitely awesome to see him. But yeah, just cannot wait to see what other new Star Wars stuff they got cooking up in there. But yeah, very happy with the Acolyte. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
No, that's about everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening or watching the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 142. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.